Hi, my name is Barb, and in this video we're going to talk about subscribers. We're going to talk about what people can subscribe to, how to put the functionality in place, and why to put the functionality in place. That's probably the most important thing, that you understand how important it is. So let's start right off. What you're looking at here is a test site, as you can tell from the label. This is one of my sites that I play with various different content on. So right up here, upper sidebar, is a widget that I've put in place that clearly says subscribe to the blog via email. So what is this? This is a website, and it will produce, or I will post information on it on a regular basis in terms of blog posts. In actual fact, this is a WordPress site, but WordPress or Blogger or a lot of the other different platforms will have the same sort of functionality that you can tie into. So this is allowing people to get an email in their inbox every time I post a new blog post. And we'll talk about how I put this in place, but let's talk about the why. If somebody was to go ahead and enter their email address here, they want you to put something in their inbox. Most people are pretty hesitant about handing over their email address because they don't really want crap in their inbox. So if they have done this, they are interested in the content that you produce, and they're much more likely to read the information that ends up in their inbox than they are to say, oh, yeah, maybe Barb has posted on her blog at some point, maybe in the last month. Maybe I should go look. Right? That isn't the type of thing that you want to depend on. You want to depend on people being regularly kept up to date or regularly notified of the content that you put on your blog. So let's go on to how do you do this. So I'm going to go to the back side of the blog. So again, this is a WordPress blog. Similar function can be done on almost every platform. Right here is the functionality that I put in place. So where it says blog subscriptions Jetpack. If I open this up, you can see all of the various default words that are filled in that we have read on the front side. This is a plugin that I like to use. I know that there's strong feelings about Jetpack, and a lot of people don't like having Jetpack on their sites, and that's fine. In terms of the other ways of putting this in place, lots of other methods, and we'll talk about those in a sec. So how easy is this to put in place? Here is the bar over here on the right hand side. We simply click, drag, drop, and it's done. Okay, so this is not something that is really difficult to do. Let's talk about other ways that you can do this. So if I go to plugins and add new, and then I'm just going to type in subscribe. It'll bring up all sorts of choices because you can subscribe to a variety of different things. So you can subscribe to comments, you can just subscribe to a mailing list, which we'll talk about in a sec, or YouTube, etc. This WP subscribe has been around for a long time, and so has subscribe to. And subscribe form, I think, is another one that has been around. But as you can see, there's no shortage of choices. So if you don't wish to have Jetpack on your WordPress blog, there are lots of other choices. So I'm going to go back to this and point out something before we move on. One of the things that I always say on a blog is that you accentuate the positives and you hide the negatives. So this is not really a real website. I don't drive traffic here. This is something that I just play around with. So there's only one subscriber, and it's me, which is as it should be. I don't want people subscribing to something that isn't real. So if you see on the front hand side, it says join one other subscriber. That's something that I would hide. So go back to the back side and you can see that this is actually a checkbox that I can uncheck to hide the number of subscribers. Just like in real life, people like to be where the popular kids are. A blog that has a lot of followers, it seems attractive. So if in fact you have a large number of followers, that's something that you should show off. And if you don't have very many followers, then you hide that number until it's larger. So let's go on to another choice. This is my book blog that you're looking at here. And my book blog was opened many, many years ago. And when I first opened it, the only method of subscription that I was aware of was FeedBurner. FeedBurner, as far as I'm aware, is still functional. I'm one of the subscribers to this blog, and every time the blog post, a post goes live, I get an email. So it is still sending. It is considered old school, but as far as I'm concerned, it keeps chugging along. So same sort of thing. As with the Jetpack, I just put a widget on my sidebar. This is another example here in terms of blogs. There's a service called Bloglovin, and it is literally bloglovin.com. You can go and set up a free account. You can subscribe to a bunch of blogs, and every time the blogs post, you get an email reminding you that there's new content to read. You can either read the content via your email that is sent, or you can go to the site and read on their interface. And they've got a really nice interface. I like it quite a bit. My book blog has a fair amount of traffic coming from Bloglovin. I've had people say positive things about this, negative things about this. Regardless, for this particular blog, it's a positive thing. So it is yet another way to people can keep up to date with your content, which is really important. So, how do you get people to subscribe? And that's a common question that I get. And the answer to that question is you tell them. So if you look here, I have copied and pasted in one of the closing comments that I have some version of on my business blog. So I say here, thanks for dropping by today and letting me share a few pearls of wisdom with you. If you're interested in having these blog posts delivered to your inbox, enter your email address in the blog subscription box over to the right and join 18,000 plus other authors like you looking for a little bit of understandable technical information. And I deliberately put that number in place because I want people to understand that they're not the only one that has subscribed to this blog. So when we talk about the one other subscriber, if I go to my business blog, this is the sign up widget right here. And in actual fact, there's 18,228 other subscribers. So I'm proud of that fact. I advertise that fact, and that number tends to go up in fits and starts. It doesn't go up every time I post, but it is interesting how people seem to find the blog and subscribe and follow instructions. So enough about subscribing to blogs. Let's go on to this widget down here, which clearly says subscribe to our mailing list. Now keep in mind that subscribing to a mailing list or a newsletter list or whatever title you want to give it is going to be completely different than subscribing to blog posts. You need to be clear about what people are signing up for. Just because they put their email address and name down doesn't mean that they're open to whatever you decide to send them at whatever time. Okay, so just because they have agreed to get posts in their inbox for when you post on your blog doesn't mean that you get to add them to a newsletter list as well. So typically, we want to make sure that there's some sort of sentence or phrase in place telling people what they're going to get. It is up here with the subscribe to blog. It isn't for the mailing list. And so if this was in fact an actual example, I would suggest putting some sort of information in place that says, subscribe to our mailing list to get new release information, or subscribe to our mailing list to get monthly newsletters, or some sort of selection of words like that that helps people understand what in fact they're going to get in their inbox. So how do we put this in place? This is actually code that comes from MailChimp. So let's see if we can go over to MailChimp. And this is my MailChimp account, and this is sort of an account that I fuss around with. So I have a list that's called sample, and it's just me. And so this is where I play. So any MailChimp list will allow you to create sign-up forms. In an actual fact, it has a menu item called sign-up forms. There are a variety of different kinds. Form builders are you create almost like a mini landing page in order for people to come to and enter their information. The one that we used on the test site is an embedded form. So I simply click on the title here, or I could have clicked on the select button. So this brings me to what's called the embedded form page, and it allows me to make a bunch of choices, see what it's going to look like, and then find the code that I'm going to copy and paste into the website. So for example, it allows me to do a title. So I can say, subscribe to our readers list. Okay, and as soon as I tab out of that field, it is then visible on the right hand side. I can show only required fields or all fields, or on and on, right? There's a whole bunch of different choices. For now, we're not going to talk about how to manipulate a MailChimp form. We're just going to click here and copy all of this code. We're then going to go over to the test site. I'm just going to collapse that a bit, and I'm going to grab a text widget, which is right here, and go back up, there we go, and pop it in place. I'm then going to go to the text side, click, paste, save. Okay, then when I go to the front side, we should, if I did it right, see to subscribe to the mailing list. One says mailing list and one says readers list. So this is the one that I just put in now. There are all kinds of different ways of putting this in place. This is one way. There is, if we go back here and look at plugins, yes, leave this, and add new, and I can search for MailChimp. Oops. And let's see what it comes up with. There we go. So all sorts of widgets that will create either a plain sign-up widget or a fancy sign-up widget, and allow that to be put in on the sidebar if you're not comfortable copying and pasting code. Same thing with MailerLite. Again, right? The official sign-up form, a WooCommerce one, etc., etc. There's lots of choices. All of the major newsletter programs or services probably have a WordPress plugin, and also probably have instructions that help you understand how to put a sign-up widget in place on your blog, be it a WordPress blog, a Blogger blog, or whatever. They try and make this very easy. So going back to the front side, you want to make sure that people can subscribe to as much as you can get them to subscribe to. You make it clear what they're getting. You make it obvious. So in other words, if I had a great big long blog roll here, I don't put subscribe to the blog way the heck at the bottom so that people have to go searching for it. I want to make it reasonably easy. The same thing with the mailing list or the readers list or whatever you want to call it. Make sure it's clear what people need to do, what they will get in response. And it is a great way of keeping track of people, keeping in touch with people, and having people respond to the content that you send out. I hope this has created some clarity. Put some subscription widgets in place and start connecting with readers on your sites.